Welcome back to Speargrass Forge. If you're new here, thanks for coming. If you're coming back, thanks for returning. Today, I'm going to be attempting to turn my log splitter into a forge press. Stick around.
Singing true rely, you rely at it. Singing true rely, you rely at it. Singing true rely, you rely at it. Going bound for Bonnie Bay.
Okay, so what we have here is, of course, the forge press. Now, I got this idea from CG Smithing. I'll leave a tag just up here so that you can go check out his channel because he did it first, as far as I'm aware. But what I'll be doing is basically turning this forge press into a, this log splitter into a forge press. Now I make my own charcoal, so I'll be keeping this, what's going to be a forge press or log splitter adaptable. So I'll be able to take off what I'm building, or most of what I'm building, in order to continue to use this as a log splitter, because I need it. This tool I bought brand new cost me about 350 Australian, because in my area second-hand log splitters don't exist. I live in the tropics, so needing to split wood is not a common thing up here. So I'm going to be turning this into a dual-purpose piece of machinery until such time as I can build a dedicated forge press. But that's for later on. So what I've got here is a piece of 10mm steel plate, or I'm not sure what that is in inches. It is about 7/16. Okay, about 7/16 of an inch plate. Which, with the measurements of the three sides that I need to weld together in order to create the triangular shape to go over the actual splitting portion. So we've got this for the dimensions that I have on my splitter. This is 9.5 centimeters wide, or 3 3/4 of an inch, and two plates that will be 9 centimeters, or 3 5/8 wide. So these will be welded into a triangular shape to slip over this splitting portion. Then I'll be welding on a piece of square stock in order to bring the splitter down to create a base, and then I'll be working on the actual ram portion in order to get that done. So first of all, I've got to get these cut and these ground into some sort of shape, and so I can weld them together. So stick around, I'll be back shortly. Righty, so now the plates are prepped. Just got to stick these on and attempt to weld them together. So, start with this first plate. Start with the plate on the far side first, and then work towards the middle. Right, so while I weld this up, I'm just going to turn off the camera so it doesn't damage the lens or anything like that. So next you'll see me will be after the first weld is finished. Back shortly. So they say a myriad of sins, welder's sins, can be covered up with a grinder. Well, I'm neither good at welding nor grinding, but at least that is now welded. I took it off and ground it off a bit, but now sitting on there. So the next part is to put this plate just there and then weld that up. So I'll get into that, and when you see me next, this section should be complete. Righty, so now she's all welded up and nice and tight, slides on, slides off. I'm probably going to have to put a handle on this at some stage, but now I've got to get the piece of tubing to run out to here, but I had to wait until this was welded up so that I could measure the angle of this, so that I can cut a slot in the tubing in order to fit round here, and also from where the tubing will be welded to it all the way out to along the where the drive of the actual log splitter is, so that I can have a decent amount of length. Now it's done. I probably want to go at least halfway down the wedge, and from the front of the wedge to the ram is about 50 52 centimeters, or 1 foot 8.5. So I probably want to bring the actual length here probably to, well, if I go 1 foot 2 at the moment, or if I go a foot or 30 centimeters at the moment, that will give me about 23 centimeters from the actual the ram. Now I've also got to factor in the depth of any dies and everything like that. So if the dies are about 2 inches thick, that'll give me 10 inches all up reduction. So with the 10 centimeter thick, or 4 inches, that will give me a 10 centimeter reduction, or 4 inch reduction on that. So from there, if I come in 2 inches and approximately 2 inches from there, that will give me a throw of about 14 centimeters, about 5 inches. So depending on the width of whatever I choose to squish, but even if I choose to do leaf spring, even this piece of leaf spring is about 2 inches wide, so that will give me plenty of width to work with. I can probably even bring that down a little bit. So I'm going to get into doing some math and seeing what I actually want to do here, and then I'll go and cut the piece of box tubing, and in a moment you'll see me come back and we'll talk about what we're going to do with that box tubing. See you in a minute. Alrighty, so I've got a piece of box tube here. I'm sorry about the lighting, but that time of day, unfortunately. So got a piece of box tubing here, and I've measured out the angle that I've got to remove from the plate I've welded together. Now, I did it with doing 2 ways. First of all, I measured the base along what I wanted to actually, where I wanted it to sit on the actual, on the plate. So I measured across the base, then I measured out to the tip of where the apex will be. So, so it's about 8 centimeters from the base to the tip, and about 8 centimeters along the base. So it's an equilateral triangle. Then I use this thing, which is what they call an adjustable or slide bevel, and then put that on the base of the actual, against the base of the press, or the log splitter, and basically measured the angle out, and then transferred that to here, so I knew straight line, and of course it matched up to the apex from the base, from the points I've marked on the base. So that just double checking my measurements to make sure I get everything right. So what I've got to do now is cut this off, cut this bevel out, and also on the underneath I've got to remove a section of the actual box tubing, so that it can sit down flat against the base of the actual the base of the log splitter. So I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get removing all this, and I'll be back in a moment. Not far enough. So, this bit I have to cut deeper. That's okay. There's no worries there. It's a matter of getting that right so that it slides right up but drops down in here. Right, so back. Just cut that extra section off there. So now, look at that, straight in. And that's exactly what we want. So, now, it's just a matter of welding along the top. There's a little bit of gap in the side, so I might use some of that off-cut to fill in this gap and weld it up nice and secure. And then underneath, we have to fill in a little bit of a gap and weld up underneath so it's nice and secure. I mean, most of the pressure of this is going to be pushing in an upwards direction, pushing back on this. So the welds at the top and side should be enough to hold it, but I want to be extra sure this is not going anywhere. So now I've just got to get a grinder out, clean off some of this gal, because I mean this pipe is gal. I don't want to go welding on galvanisation because zinc poisoning sucks. So it's just a matter of cleaning up. Now it's the end of the day here, so it's time to start packing up for the day. I will be back tomorrow in order to finish this off. So it's the end of the day here. Time to start packing up for the day. So I will come back tomorrow, and next you'll see me. This will be ground off, and we'll be I'll be ground this off, and we'll be prepping for welding. So I'll see you tomorrow, and for you, it'll be in just a second. Stick around. Alrighty, it's day 2, and I've just welded up this front section just to keep it solid, so now it slides on and off nice and easily. I've just cut a couple of pieces to sit over here to strengthen this, and also some bits on the underside. So I'll get them and show you what I mean by that. Alrighty, so I've got these pieces that I'm just going to weld basically just like this. Weld these seams up, stick a bit of weld at the top there, and weld them at the back so that they basically help transfer some of the pressure into more of this wedge. And then on the underside, I'll just slide this off for a moment so you can see what I'm talking about. So the underside, I've got some triangular pieces from the top triangle that I cut out that will slide into this gap here, just to help reinforce this bottom part, so that the pressure of the pressure of the press is actually pushing more on the whole piece than just this top section. So that's the plan. I'm going to attempt to weld these on now. As you can see, I've ground off in the light there. I've ground off this this galvanisation so it doesn't gas me out. And I will just got to grind off some of the gal on these pieces to get them ready, and then I will be welding these on. So I'll get this done, and I'll be back when all these pieces are welded. See you in a moment. Alrighty, so just finished welding up the underside. All the sides are welded now. Welded the plates to the back. Still got a little bit of cleanup to do, but probably just brush it off and paint at a later date. Leave the my trademark Gorilla Snot welds in there. So now the post is pretty much done. So now it's going to be working on this end, which will be the end where the dies go on, and then also working on this bit in order to actually make the dies fit on this end. So I'm just going to let this cool down, and we'll start working on that bit in just a minute. Alrighty, so whilst we wait for the post to dry, I'm going to take this off. So I've already taken 2 bolts out. So for this I need an 8mm Allen key and a 16mm spanner. So I'm going to go just grab those, and we're going to take this off and make sure it doesn't drop through. So I'm just going to whack a couple of pieces of bar to shim it up so it doesn't go anywhere. Give it that freedom of movement while we go down. Seems like these bits of bar are a bit too thick to shim it. Okay, so I've just taken these down to a bit of a taper. I'm just going to knock them into the middle of these just to give it a little bit of clearance. And then, seems to be about equidistant apart. Then we're going to measure between here in order to cut a bar to give it some support, or 2 bars actually, to give it some support in the back here. And then grind off this face and weld a plate to it. That's the plan anyway. So let's get the tape measure. Alright, so inside this is now 8.5 by 8.5. Sweet, so that's now square. So got to weld a bit into the back. Let me show you what I mean from behind. No, we're going to weld a bit just in here to help support this, and we're going to weld a bit in here to support the top, and then we're going to put a face plate on the front. So that's the current plan. And keep this aside just in case I need it in future. I don't think I will, because this will never fit again. But by welding a plate on, of course we can keep it as a log splitter as well. That's the entire point. This is going to be a dual purpose machine now, so that's what I want. Okie dokie, so now the bit's cut. I've just put that one in there, and I've just got to weld this up around the sides here just to keep it up, and that will replace these shims, keep it spaced out, and also hold it up. And then this one is basically going where these shims are on an angle to provide top support for the press. So just got to get into welding those, and I should be back shortly. Stick around. So the first one's welded in. Just put this one in. Just got to line it up with the top there, and then weld this one on. So the next bit is welding this one so it sits in, and then later on work on the faceplate. This is at the moment the base is down there. That'll have to have the faceplate, and that slips over, and slowly getting there. I'm excited. Alrighty, so that's all welded up. Still very hot, just finished welding. But on a positive note, the more welding I do on this project, the better my welds are looking. So that's all nice and welded. And what I might do right now is just whack on the power and see how this runs. So, alright, the moment of truth. So I didn't weld anything together at the bottom. That's a good start. Beautiful. Of course, got a few bits and pieces in there that need to come out. A few bits of slag. See if we can get that bit of slag out. My wire brush gives this a bit of a brush off, get the crap off it. Also see if I can use this to hold this. Okay, we've got that out. Awesome, beautiful. And that seems to be a couple of bits of crud splatter around, but all in all, That seems to be perfect. One more test run. Beautiful. It's running as good as I could have ever hoped for. That's perfect. Now all I got to do, well, all I got to do, I've still got a lot to do yet, but I've got to get a faceplate to weld onto here and onto the post, and then I've got to make the brackets and dies to go into it. But we're on the home run, so we're on the home stretch. So we're on the home stretch. So let's clean this off. Put this post on. Sure it sits all the way down. Looks like it does. You got to remember that there's going to be about this much taken up on either side with the actual dies. So we're going to have about that much gap in there, ish. But yeah, so that marries up nicely. Now, I don't know if you can see it, there's a little bit of a gap here. That's because this ram actually sits slightly forward. So I'm going to have to compensate for that when I make the dies and everything like that. But that's not too hard. All I do is make sure it's square, and I'll fill up the difference there. The other thing I could do is probably cut them off, but I don't want to do that. So just got to know I'm compensating for that when I make it. But yeah, so looks pretty good to me. Thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Click the bell icon for notifications of when I upload, usually on the week. Don't forget to check out my Spreadshirt and print bar stores, links in the description. And I hope to see you again next time. Cheers.